In knowledge creation, I think it's been difficult to measure. We've been able to measure our impact at the school level. We certainly know that we have a large segment of older users, but we have a large vacuum, I think, between those ages, and we've had a hard time measuring the usage and the impact in that sense. So it's a focus of ours in the last few years. So we've been looking at various ways to measure the value of what we've been doing in terms of reach, in terms of more qualitative measures rather than the quantitative measures that we've had previously. That's challenging. It's not something that perhaps libraries have been particularly good at. It's not something that we've yet got a complete handle on, but it's something that we now have a focus on. I think the themes of the workshop have been really valuable, and I think, if anything, the consistent message from the other national endeavours of a similar nature has been that you've got to go to your users, your partners and your contributors, and you've got to be on equal terms, and you've got to listen to them carefully. You've got to listen to your users. I think that is something that I've heard the various experts repeat here, and it seems to me that the NDLI will succeed in that measure. You've got support at a high level, and it seems that's the first hurdle to clear. And it seems to me too that you have a real appetite at a grassroots level for this kind of initiative, and you've got some really, I think, dynamic people that I've seen from the various institutions in the NDLI here in India, really passionate people, and I think they're going to be key to this. I think that kind of passion and dynamism will be key. That's a really interesting question. You're right, it is a basic thing to do, and it's certainly a fundamental thing to do, and the first thing you should do. Part of what I'm responsible for at the National Library is our user experience team, and their toolkit, if you like, is to spend a lot of time listening and analysing. And this is something I think that is new to librarians and new to librarianship. I think as a profession they're an incredibly devoted group, and I think at times they lose sight perhaps of beyond the library. And that, for me to say that, I have to qualify that I've been involved in academic and national libraries and not with the small local public libraries. And I know they have a different perspective and they have a different connection to their users, a much more personal connection. But certainly at the academic and national libraries, I feel a bit distanced from our users. So whilst it's a basic thing to do, it is something that is often overlooked. And we see, I think, initiatives from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, toolkits for librarians for this kind of endeavour. So it's good to see that permeate internationally, that kind of approach. We had a really interesting session just then, and by far the most passionate session and probably the most interesting session. And I think what buoyed me was the presence of a very young panel and their passion in this area. It was a little dispiriting to hear the state in India particularly, but I think that was the countermeasure was the passion that I saw up there and the heated debate, passionate, respectful, heated debate that I saw. It is very important, but it seemed to me a very twofold thing, the policy level buy-in, but also the motivation for those who are producing the work. Because we can't always assume that they understand the same desires and motivations that we have for open and inclusive. So I think incentivising the producers, the authors, to participate in open access, various open access, and to let them know and to educate them that this isn't restrictive, this isn't potentially restricting what they can do with their work or their future direction. So I think that's going to be challenging. We have challenges in Australia with that. We have government initiative that all government-produced material should be open by default. It seems more simple to me when I think of it in those terms. At the institutional level, difficult. previous to the National Library, I worked at the Australian National University, and in 2003 we built the first Australian open access publisher. And at the time, our great challenge was convincing authors to publish with us. And slowly but surely we built a catalogue of titles across a range of humanities disciplines, areas that were losing interest from the academic commercial publishers. So we became a home, if you like, for them. And that was our niche, that was how we succeeded. So I think perhaps that's an aspect that could be considered, is to look to those areas of academia that are finding it hard to reach through commercial publishers, and to appeal to them, to build a movement around that. Look, I think I'm not expert and really enough to answer this, other than to say that my feeling is that science, technology are well served, typically well served. Humanities not so. They're well served in terms of the platforms they have, the commercial interest they have, humanities, and to government funding, at least in Australia. It's easier to sell to public funders the infrastructure value of science and technology platforms. It's harder to sell with humanities. The value to society is not as clear. And so for us, I don't think we are deliberately excluding science and technology, but there are equivalent platforms. In Australia, the Commonwealth Scientific Organisation, the CSIRO, they have an equivalent, if you like, service to Trove that's effectively around living Australia, so flora, fauna. That's really big. So we're looking to fill that gap, I think, and we're looking to the digital humanists to use our platform to investigate new modes and methods of scholarship with the material, the vast quantities of material we have, the new methods of access that we hope to continue to pioneer through our API and through potentially open access to bulk data in the future. So I can't really speak authoritatively about why we chose that, but my sense is that it wasn't well served, and that we had that material. We have a relationship with people who like to focus on digital humanities, so it seemed natural. Okay, so because our digital library Trove is so integrated with our national library, it was built and funded by us. It wasn't explicitly a national digital library, and perhaps still isn't, but I think some of the value adds, we have I'm not sure how it works in India, but we have a national curriculum in Australia. We have a platform at the National Library called the Digital Classroom, and so we've taken material from our collection, accessible through Trove, and we've actually created course material for teachers aligned to the national curriculum, so that it appeals to teachers. The material is engaging. We've created videos around it. We provide access to the digital objects that are delivered through Trove, and I think having innovative delivery of those digital objects, engaging delivery of those digital objects, not to mention the stories that we associate with them through the digital classroom, has meant that it's far more engaging for students and for teachers. And I would say that's been that's a reasonably new endeavour, and that's been one of the pillars of the success of Trove. I think too the user engagement features that we've had, like the capacity for users to create lists and to tag content. So that works both ways, so that students can create lists of material, but teachers too can create lists of resources for classrooms, and they can share those and search on those lists of material. I think we've probably got a lot more we can do to support Trove in the classroom. And I think the key to that is going to be aligning with the curriculum and providing material and resources in the way that teachers want to use it, as well as students. So I think those are some of the things that the NDLI could consider or perhaps look at. I think my impressions of the NDLI are probably akin to my impressions of India, and I've been here a couple of times, in that it looks very ambitious. It looks like you've got a lot of hurdles to overcome, but you've got a lot of very, very good people, very passionate, dedicated people with a lot of drive. And I think that there's a very good chance that it will be successful. Its success, at least, will match the ambition that I've heard over the last 3 days. I'm really looking forward to watching it develop. I've had some really interesting conversations in the sidelines with some of the participants, some of the developers, and some of the potential users, and I'm really excited. I think your challenges are enormous. Some of the technical challenges, the policy challenges, challenges of contributors. When I bring those concerns back to my knowledge of Trove with those issues, you know, I think they're going to be very hard for you to overcome. But I'm fairly confident that you'll make a lot of progress in that respect, and I think too you'll probably deliver an incredible amount of public good out of this initiative. I think there's a lot of drive, and from what I've seen from the two primary drivers who've spoken here, you're in wise hands.